Mark here from Mark 2.0. Brian's my co-host, and we welcome saxophonist Matthew Alec. We are just thrilled to have you on. I think this is our first saxophonist, Brian, right?
Really?
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what? I've been listening to your videos, and you are like so good.
Oh,
You
cool.
are
Thanks,
blowing
man.
my mind. Good. You know, the every video I'm like, let me see another one.
Oh, cool.
So,
hey, man.
yeah,
Appreciate
having
it.
a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. And I'm honored to be the very first saxophone player. That's awesome. So
There we go.
That's great. That is
Yep.
great.
So I want to start by asking you, why the saxophone, and when did you start playing the sax?
oh boy. Yeah.
It's kind of not the most popular thing to do,
No.
really, today.
Yeah. I mean, I always hesitate to call myself young. I don't think I'm young anymore.
You
I'm
look
almost
very
40.
young.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
almost 40 now. But
No way. Wow.
yeah. I just turned 39 in October. So
Mm.
yeah, the years are starting to add up. But there's a lot of young saxophone players out there. Maybe not by comparison to some other instruments, or maybe even singers, vocalists, or whatnot. So it's maybe not quite as popular. But there's a tight-knit group of younger jazz-oriented players out there. So and a lot of them go to school for it and whatnot. So maybe I'm biased because I know all those people, so it seems like there's more of them than there actually are.
But you know what? When there is a
Yeah.
void like this, and there kind of is, I mean, mainstream things got very popular. They got very,
Mhm.
very big, but they were backed by big companies. Now, everybody's kind of gone solo, right? So these older things are kind of resurfacing, and you may be poised in a
Mhm.
position that's really unique and really could get just exploding popular so fast. I honestly am not big on the genre, but when I
Yeah.
heard your band and
Mhm.
just based around your saxophone, I was like, man, this guy is so good.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was just
Thanks.
really fun to listen to, and just like really upbeat to listen to right away. So let me ask you this. You must have people reaching out to you, like younger people at this point, right?
Yeah, you know what? The last it's really been kind of happening over the last year, I suppose. I'm really starting to get a lot of emails, lots of requests from all different kinds of people. So I don't know. I guess something worked in the music I made. I don't know. People.
What do they want? Do they ever
responding to
want
it.
you to teach them?
Yes, I have gotten some requests. I used to teach saxophone lessons, but I haven't done that in a while now. I don't like doing it very much, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I like making music and I like producing things.
Sure.
I don't really like teaching that much. Not to say I won't ever do it again. I might, but I haven't. I haven't too much. But it occurred to me, I didn't ever ask your question on the saxophone. I started in like God, how old was I? This was 5th grade, I think I started.
Wow.
So that's when school band started, and that's when I started. And I didn't really care for it very much. My brother is 10 years older than I am. He played clarinet, and we had a saxophone sitting in the closet that he never touched, and it just became mine. So it made sense to play it. And I didn't really get into it until high school. So
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah.
I was in grade school and I played the clarinet,
Yeah. Right.
there was not a trumpet available. So I ended up with a clarinet. It looked the same to me basically at the time,
Yeah.
but the saxophone was always very, that was the one that seemed like, man, that looks like the hardest one.
Yeah. You know what? The funny thing is, I think it's easier to learn than the others. The fingerings are pretty ergonomic. There aren't as many keys as it looks like if you don't know what you're doing. But it's not too hard to learn. It's very difficult to master because of the sound, the tone of it. It's very easy to play loud and crass and out of tune. It's not very easy to learn to play with a good sound and to play in tune. That's something that takes a long time to develop on saxophone. But believe it or not, the key part, that's the easy part on saxophone. You could learn that. I could show you all the fingerings within probably 2 weeks. You probably have them down pretty good. So just FYI. Yeah.
I'm gaining a huge respect for jazz as I get older too. It's like,
right on.
I was just talking to Mark and I'm like, Mark, jazz never really went fully mainstream, but it won't, it's just like there forever. It's like, it'll never die. It's like,
I sure hope so. Yeah.
Well, what I was talking to one of our other guests, I was like, you know what? To me, jazz is intimidating. You better know your business going into a live jazz situation because it
Oh
seems
yeah.
so
Yeah.
improvisational and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could ever do that.
Yeah, and jazz and yes, it's a difficult thing to learn. I practice different sets of chord changes literally every single day. I just got done with a practice session before I jumped on the call with you guys. So yeah, I mean, it presents a lot of challenges, and it's not like, most rock tunes, most pop tunes, even the blues, you can call a key and you can pretty much play a couple of scales or one scale and it'll fit. Most jazz tunes, it doesn't work that way. You really got to know chord change as well. And some of the tunes are really fast. So, and I'm not just a jazz player. I mean, if you listen to the stuff I put out, it's funk and pop music oriented. A lot of it is. But jazz is the heart of what I do, and it's a lot of work. You got to practice all the time to get good at it. So
yeah, I didn't even get to your live shows, and I'm sure that gets crazy, but even the solos in your videos, just the songs themselves are like, wow.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's like Blues for McCoy. So I thought, wow, look at
I
that.
like that tune.
That video was cool, the old style with the black, it's the first time I saw you in that kind of Blues Brothers look.
Yeah.
Stuff, and then you've got the case. I'm like, that's a machine gun. No, it's a saxophone,
Yep.
And I noticed you have these inlays. I mean, what do you call that? The carvings on your saxophone.
Oh, it's engravings.
Engravings, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I saw a floral design. Are there words on there too?
Yeah, there are. You know what? If I had that horn with me, I'd show you. I can show you this one. Give me a second.
I just thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
How you kind of showed that off in the video. It was beautiful. Nice. Yeah.
So that's a different horn. That was the one I played the album on, which is a King, and that one's from 1952. Wow. This is a Selmer, and this is, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, this one's newer. This one's from 1972. But this is a Mark VI. But
wow.
And this one's engravings really aren't as nice as the King. The King has really cool engraving on it. But yeah, that's good stuff. Those were all hand engraved. The new horns, they don't do that anymore so much, I don't think. A lot of that's machine done now. But the old horns, they did everything by hand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the Solo Electric, I mean, I was watching your videos. I saw Give What You Take was great. I love the cars. I haven't seen a Chevelle like that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You guys have
My
this
wife's
great
dad, she arranged for those. So
wow.
He's been involved with he's got a lot of friends that do the classic car thing. So yeah, and that Corvette he used to own, the main Corvette in it, that was his car once upon a time, some decades ago. So yeah,
68 or something like that.
That
Cherry red.
Right. The Chevelle I think was a 69, and I think the Corvette was a 68. I think.
Oh my goodness, I saw those. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder if that's his car. Yeah. So Cleveland Chime, that was great. I like the rap that you kind of put in there. It's kind of had like a hip hop thing going on. And then Baby You Got Me, that didn't even have any saxophone at all.
No, I played the Iwi on that one. Did you catch that? It's only a really brief solo. But I wanted to make it like a pop tune, right?
I said to Mark, I'm sure he's playing something else in there, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, there's a solo in it after and it's real short. It's just like a real quick pop solo, and it's an Iwi. And I don't have that with me either. But that's like, are you familiar with what that is? Are you guys?
No.
No, tell us, please.
Yeah. So the Iwi is EWI, so electronic wind instrument. And if you want to see somebody who's really, really good at it, watch Michael Brecker on YouTube playing the Iwi. He's deceased, but he's my favorite saxophonist, and the Iwi, it's like, I don't know, he takes it to a whole nother level. I had that instrument literally like 1 week before I laid down that solo. So it is user friendly. There's no embouchure. So what makes this sound on the saxophone is the muscle formation in your mouth. And then of course, against the reed, which vibrates, right? That doesn't exist on the Iwi. The Iwi is just like an electronic keyboard kind of, but it's driven by airstream that you put through it. So it's driven, it responds to the actual air that I put into it. But the actual muscular thing here, that doesn't exist on that thing. So it's all just your fingers, which are similar to a saxophone, and then the airstream that you put into it. So it's a neat instrument. I'm gonna do more of it on the next album, I think. But I was just starting to get to learn it a little bit. So
I'm
but it's
dying to
cool.
know more. I've never heard of
Yeah.
that. Wow, that is
Yeah,
amazing.
steps ahead. Michael Brecker, look that up. From the 80s. Those are all 80s recordings. He's just absolutely incredible at the EWI. So
I will.
Yeah.
yeah, right on.
Now, how did it come about that you were Cleveland's best horn player nominated for that?
That
Talk
was
about that.
Woo!
Yeah, I feel like actually the funny thing is I feel like anymore, I think there's more people outside of Cleveland that know who I am than people who are in Cleveland.
Sure.
God bless the internet.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thanks to the internet. But the that said, I was in a band called Winslow. And you can still find we had a couple albums that we put out that were around, and we were super popular in the area at the time. And I got voted into it. I didn't, so that's what happened. That's been like 10 years ago now. So I don't even know if people still remember that band or not. There's a couple of people that will still bring it up to me at this point, but that was a big part of my life. We had a couple of record contracts, and we toured the East Coast quite a bit, and we were playing New York City and Chicago a lot. So
Wow.
yeah, that
What'd you
was
play in
fun.
New York? Yeah. What'd you see there?
We used to play this place called Arlene's Grocery. Are you familiar with that? It's actually a real neat little place. I'm told it's still there. So maybe I'll go back. I don't know. But yeah, we were playing there quite a bit. So it was a fun.
What about Chicago? I used to live in Chicago, so.
So let's see. Chicago, we played in Wrigleyville at what is the name of that place? It's a brewery, but then it's still there, I'm pretty sure. But then it's like a great big brewery, and then the other half of it was like a music venue. And it was just like literally right in Wrigleyville, right by Wrigley. So
Yeah, I think it's off the tip of my tongue. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then we also played a jazz and blues club, and that I have no recollection of what the name of that place is at all. But I remember looking at it, I remember being there. It was a really neat place. It was packed that night, I remember, but I don't remember what it was called.
Nice.
So maybe it's still there. I don't know.
I'm sure, tons of people are just going to flock in a city
Sure.
like that. So now everything is online and everything is like,
Mhm.
and I imagine that's why you started Cleveland Times Records, right?
Yeah, so that was kind of the idea. I kind of figured that if I was gonna do this, I was with Winslow for a long time. Like a decade out of college. I went to Kent State for music, and that's how I met all those guys. And that was like a soul rock band kind of. And then that band broke up, even though we were actually still doing really well, but personnel stuff, people, bickering and complaining, which can happen. But so we broke
I've
up.
been there.
Yeah, so that happened, and then I didn't have any connections. I didn't really know many people around. That band was all I knew for a few years, and so that was like probably 2013, and then for I considered giving up the saxophone altogether at that point because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I wound up going to this really cool camp, and I got a lot of people that laugh because it's like the American Pie jokes with going to band camp. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. But no, this was a very special camp at Victor Wooten's campgrounds in Nashville. Well, he owns this great big I don't know, facility, I guess, south of Nashville. It's in the middle of the woods, and it's called Wooten Woods.
I read that on your website.
Yeah, and so he's there, and he was there intermittently, and I got to meet him. I got to play with him, which was cool. And then, but it was a camp for pro saxophone players, and I went 2 years in a row. I don't even know if they're doing it anymore. I still get the emails. Bob Reynolds is the main organizer behind it, who's a dynamite saxophone player who toured with John Mayer for a while. And
I'm a big fan there.
Yeah, he's a great saxophone player too.
Wow.
And he put together this amazing camp that was relatively small. I think there were only like 50 people that went. And Joshua Redmond came, and Chris Potter came, and Kirk Whalum was there, and Jeff Coffin was there. He's the guy who's now playing with Dave Matthews Band. Yeah.
John Mayer, Dave Matthews.
Yeah,
These people
right.
don't just pick anybody.
No, not at all.
They want the best of the best.
Yeah, so it was intimidating. I was scared shitless when I was there. But it was a wake-up call, and like it really got me working hard again. That was probably like 2015 or so. And so I wound up in a James tribute band here, a James Brown tribute band here in Northeast Ohio, and they were really good. And through that, I met a whole bunch of people. And that was kind of I love the Brecker brothers. I mentioned Michael Brecker before. He's my favorite saxophone player. He's deceased, but he's one of the all-time greats. And I wanted to do a Brecker brothers type band, which was, they were a jazz fusion group in the 70s, 80s, and again in the 90s they got back together again. But and some of the guys in the band were like, yeah, we'd love to do that. So we started with as a jam session at the one drummer's place, and then slowly but surely I kind of just took it over and started booking everything and doing everything. And so and then it just that was about 2016, 2017, and then I don't know, maybe like 2018, I'm like, okay, well, now we got to make a record. So and everything has just blown up since then. I've just been working really hard and practicing a lot and playing a lot, and I don't know, opportunities are starting to come. So, and I'm happy with the way record turned out. The record company was just, I don't know, I have a lot of ideas at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I'll wake up from like a bad dream, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and I just have ideas. And like it was one of those ideas that just kind of popped in there, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have a record company, but I could, so maybe I should. And so I did. And thus far, it's only put out my music, but I don't intend to keep it that way. Brian Woods, the piano player from the band, the guy in the Baby You Got Me video singing, we're gonna have a single out under his name, My Funny Valentine. We're gonna do a version of that out on Valentine's Day. That's actually getting mixed right now. It sounds super nice. I heard the first mix today. So that's going to be out under his name. So I'll finally have someone out on my label that's not just me. But there's more to come. I've got a few other things in the works. So the label, it's just me, with a few people that help here and there. I did have an intern for a little while. So it's been slow going, but I see a lot more happen over the next year with the label. So I'm kind of excited about that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you have another band you are part of called Foreigner.
Oh, the Foreigner band.
Yeah, I love Foreigner.
I
grew up in that time.
Yeah, right on.
So tell me about that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So yeah, they're good, man. I don't know if you watched the video. We have one promo video out there.
I did. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah, they're older cats, but man, they're good, and they're all from the, Cleveland is a rock town. There's a lot of great jazz musicians. We do have a couple of very nice clubs in Cleveland and Akron, but Cleveland's a rock town. And as a result, there's been a rock scene that goes back many decades here. And I somehow I got referred through one of my saxophone player friends that couldn't do the gig, and he referred me, and they hit me up, and I don't know. It's I've been with them for about a year now. It's just starting to pick up. We're starting to book some those tribute things. They want to play, all the big festivals and big theater shows and stuff. We did play the House of Blues this last summer.
Ooh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I saw it flash by in the video. I'm like, ooh, yeah, there it is.
The House of Blues is great, and the sound is great too. So, and it's always packed in there, which is nice. But that's the kind of stuff that they want to do, and that stuff books so far in advance. The club dates I do like 4 or 5 months in advance. These things book like a year in advance. So, yeah, if you miss out, Ohio, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, there's probably a couple places in Michigan. These places all book everything a good year in advance.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
it's
Never
big
thought.
money. It's big money. They pay big money and they plan way many months in advance. So,
Really?
so if you missed that promo video, we made too late. We made it about a month too late. So it came out probably in January of this year, and we missed the booking window for 2022 by about a month or two when we did that. So, so we didn't have a very busy year, but I think this year is actually going to be pretty busy. So we'll see how that goes out. But they're great. And I don't know if you guys heard of Michael Stanley. He's like a Cleveland rock legend here, who just did pass last year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. He passed. I think it was heart issues. He had some health problems going back, but he died kind of tragically. And it was a big thing in Cleveland. You know, Cleveland always loved Michael Stanley. He had a radio station, or radio program, I should say. But at least one of the dudes used to play with him. So they go back with Michael Stanley. And then the singer, Alan, who's just got an amazing voice. He's been out of the music thing for a while, but he is very good friends and went to high school with Neil Zaza, who he has a number of recordings out with. So, you know, they're great guys. I'm hoping that man plays more. You know, jazz is really my thing. I want to keep making my own records, but I am not going to complain about playing with them. I have to say it's playing the tribute thing is different, but it is a lot of fun. And playing rock and roll saxophone is a whole different animal than playing like the stuff that I do. So.
Well, you've done some cool things with cool people. There was that guy from the Talking Heads you worked with, right?
Bernie Worrell, yeah. So, yeah, and let's see, how did that happen? So Maurice, the singer from Winslow, somehow got to be friends with Bernie Worrell's wife, who was his manager. I don't know how that happened. I'd have to ask him. Maurice was my good friend for a long time. He's still my friend, but I haven't talked to him too much in the last year or so. So she talked to Bernie, and Bernie was, you know, an older man at that point, and Bernie is also now deceased. He died probably, well, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago now. And she played him some of our stuff, and he just loved it. And so he recorded on what Move On is the track that he's on on Crazy Kind of Love, our first album. So yeah, that was super cool. Working with him was super cool. And then he actually came to Ohio, and we opened for him at Nelson Ledges. This was, I don't know, that was probably 10 years ago now. And so we got to hang out with him and talk to him and took some pictures with him, and that was pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah, but he had great stories to tell.
He did, yeah. He did.
And then there was the guy from the Blues Brothers, Bones, or
yeah,
I forget his name. Tom.
Yeah, Tom Malone.
What's his name? Oh, Tom. Right.
His name is Tom Malone. Yeah.
Gosh,
So,
I bet he had great stories too. What was that like?
That was yeah. So Tom is awesome.
He's a
great
guy with the
person.
long hair and the.
He
I can't.
was
I
in the
remember.
movie. He's got short hair now. You know, he's like 70. I think he's 74 now. But in the movie, he had. I think he had like a fro. I think in the movie. With those
Oh
big
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I've seen that movie so many times.
Oh yeah, no, me too. And yeah, let's see, how did that happen? So that was Facebook is really kind of how I started to get to know him. I was friends with him on Facebook. He's got a huge, you know, social media thing, which you could probably imagine on Facebook. He's posting anti-Trump everything, like about everything. Yes, which is pretty funny. So yeah, let's see. I found okay, how did that happen? So because of Winslow, Bernie Worrell, you just mentioned Bernie Worrell. One of my 2 a.m. wake ups, I woke up and I was like, I was friends with another 80s jazz fusion guy, Mike Maneri, who's also in Steps Ahead. He's one of the founding people in Steps Ahead, and I'm Facebook friends with him. I don't know him personally. I don't know how, and he accepted my friend request at some point, and I probably shit my pants at that point. But yeah, he's big time, and he's wickedly good. He's even older. I think he's probably about 80 right now, something like that. But I sent him a Facebook message, and I was like, I wake up one one morning and I'm like, you know what? Like, would really help my album if I had, some star power on it, like not just the guys I work with, but somebody else. And, I was like, well, I'm friends with Mike Manerian. It's up his alley. Maybe he'd say yes. You never know if I offer him, a little bit of money, and maybe he'd say yes. Well, he never got back to me. But that idea turned into Tom Malone, because I'm seeing this guy's Facebook posts every day, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe he'd be interested in doing, he's famous, but he's a working musician, So I sent him an email address, or I sent him an email, and I sent him, the album was recorded in 2 sessions, 2 different weekends, several months apart. And I had the unmixed rough cuts from the first session. And so I sent him some of that, and along with some of the live video that I had. And I briefly explained what song I thought he should be on and like what he could do. And I made him a little bit of an offer, and he listened to it and got back to me a day later. And he's like, yeah, you guys sound great. He's like, I'm in. And I was like, sweet. So the studio album with Cleveland Time, we dropped by, my engineer Dropboxed him all the stuff. He laid down, sent us the stems from his home studio. At that time, he lived in New Jersey. He's actually moved out to California now. Yeah, so that was that. And then the album came out. I tried to stay in touch, emails, and I started whispering in his ear of like, hey, why don't you come to Cleveland and play with us? And, at that time he was still in Jersey, so it's so close. It's a real quick plane ride or a fairly long car ride, like, why don't you come do a show? I'll put something together and I'll have it recorded.
Wow.
I'll do a live album. I'm like, why don't you do it? And sure enough, eventually we agreed on a date, and he came out and did it this past February.
Nice.
And
Wow.
yeah, and
how much time did you have to prepare for that live performance?
Yeah, none.
Yeah.
There was my band.
8 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, and it's
Everyone just practiced on their own, met at the same spot, and said, "Fingers crossed."
That's pretty much the case.
Nice.
I did manage to get the band together for maybe 3 rehearsals beforehand, and that's the band. And I had, he's a big horn section guy. He plays with horn sections a lot. His whole career, I think he did a lot of horn section work. So he wanted to have a trumpet player too. And Tim, the guy from Blues for McCoy, the really fabulous blistering trumpet player, I'm like, well, I could get Tim to come and play. I'm sure he would. And he did. So I got maybe 2 rehearsals with the bulk of the rhythm section, and I had a huge band for the night. I had like a Blues Brothers type, 2 guitars, bass, percussion, drums, and all that's on my YouTube channel too, by the way. So I did the live album, which just came out this last Friday. It's called Live at the Bop Stop with Tom Malone. And all but one of the tracks there's a video for too. I had 2 cameras there recording that got, and I've released I think 3 of those now, which are out on YouTube, and then I'll release them over the next few weeks, all of them. But you can watch it. They're I hear a lot of mistakes because to your point, we didn't get a lot of rehearsal, especially from the horns.
I won't hear any.
No, neither will I.
Yeah. Your videos are great too. You're getting
They really are.
How long have you been doing that? I mean, they look pretty good quality,
Thanks.
I mean, you're
are.
producing them and you're just getting, do you hire a company or you're just kind of making the call on this?
Both. I had a goal for the album and I don't know if I've seen a lot of artists do it, but to me, it's the right thing to do. And I was like, and all the songs were strong enough too, I thought, and there was only 7 of them. So, but my idea was to have a music video for every single song on the album, which I did. And I have a friend who's a videographer who's good, who's done it for a long time, who's very fair with what he charges me because he's my friend. But I still can't afford to, have him do video for everything, because I'd be paying, a small fortune for that, which I can't do. Maybe one day I can, but so what I did was I started to get creative and make my own videos. I paid for a reasonable video editor, and I used my imagination. he made Tom Common was the videographer. He made the Give What You Take video with the cars. And he made the Never With You video, the black and white one that we did in studio, which is the one I sent to Tom Malone, by the way. So he made those two for the first album, and all the other videos I made. So the Baby You Got Me one is but that was the first one I did. I got better with it, and my videos I'm making now, the Foreigner video I made, that was me filming, and they were all recording in that's where we rehearse, they were all filming, or I'm sorry, recording, and so it made sense for me to I just filmed it with an iPhone, and then I edited it later. So I'm starting to get pretty good at it. It's not terribly difficult, and I'm gonna plan on keep doing that. I like having video content. You know, to me it makes sense because to your point, the internet, like I can play a show in front of, like, if I promote really well, you know, like 100 people. And it's only people from here or wherever I'm at. If I drive to New York City and I play in New York City for 10 people, I am touching 10 people in New York City. But if I put a video out, I mean, tens of thousands of people can watch it all over the world. And, like, to me, that just makes more sense. And, like, and they're both important. I mean, live shows are great and very important, if for no other reason, just for making you better at playing. But yeah, to me, that was important. And so I'm going to keep doing that. And I'm going to keep it up with the video content. I think that's the right way.
And they're very successful, your videos. You have like 10 that are over 10,000, you know, by itself, and with YouTube algorithms and everything. Congrats. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, some have done better than others. But yeah, it has done well. YouTube has done very well for me. So I have nothing bad to say about YouTube at all, other than the fact that I don't make any money off of it, really.
Maybe in time.
You will.
Maybe
in time.
You know, my favorite musicians, I don't really listen to them anywhere except YouTube. They are at the point now where they literally do little concerts.
Yeah,
they do little live shows, and they're you know, they've got the chat going, you know, and they're talking to it's really, really cool what's unfolding here. And again, you have a really cool retro style that I think is going to play well in a new high-tech platform atmosphere. Cool. I don't even know what to call it. And I'm just really, let me ask you this. Let's back up a little bit. Let's find out how all this started. I mean, where were you born, first of all? In Ohio?
Yeah. Richfield, Ohio, which, and by the way, Jeffrey Dahmer went to my high school.
No.
Yeah, long before I was there. He graduated long before I was there, but still, he walked the same, I walked the same halls that he did, for whatever.
That is crazy. Kirk Schilling went to mine, but yours is better.
Oh yeah, right on. I don't know. I think Kirk Schilling's better.
Yeah, I guess a good pitcher is pretty good too. Yeah. So your mom and dad, they nurtured this whole musician thing. Where were they born? What were they like?
My dad was really not in the picture. He passed a few years ago, but he bailed more or less on our lives. He had substance abuse issues, so that's on. I could tell you more about him, but I don't know that much about him, to be honest. He's
that comes up, you know. Half the time people say, "Well, it's just me and my mom."
Yeah,
that comes up a lot.
So I was a mama's boy. Yeah, I was a mama's boy. So
but you know what? A good mom driving this thing from behind the scenes is an extremely common factor. This is not like a negative thing at all. You know, you got a mom who just kicks ass. You're lucky. You are just lucky.
Well, yeah, right on. I'm sure she would tell you that. So,
so you went to grade school there, and then you went to high school there. Did you do anything musically before, like training wise, before like Kent State? I know you went there, right?
Nope. So yeah, I did. At high school, I was very self-taught. Let's see, high school, the big change for me was I got to be friends with another saxophone player. His name was Chris. I don't think he plays anymore, which is too bad because he was actually really good. He was, he was younger than me. I was junior, I think. And I was just starting to get into music at that point, but not jazz. I was into classic rock. I liked Jimi Hendrix was in. I like Queen, and I liked yeah, the Beatles, and so all that stuff. And I really liked that, and I was listening to it a lot. And he was an 8th grader who came up, and he played alto sax, and he was really good. And he showed me this little yellow book. I'm trying to think, I might have it later around here somewhere, called the Omni Book, Charlie Parker. And which it's all his transcribed solos for alto saxophone, which is a famous book for saxophone players. You know, I think everybody learns bebop out of it at some point. But he showed me this book, and I'm like, well, who's Charlie Parker? I have no idea who this is. And he's sending me like recordings, and I'm listening to them, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing music. I've never heard this before. And so I was kind of hooked after that. And I started practicing the saxophone all the time, and I started listening to like Grover Washington, and I started transcribing Grover Washington solos. And that's kind of what got me started in high school. And then out of high school, I just knew that I had to stay in music, so I went to Kent State. I was aimless for a while. My first year, I think I was undeclared, but I was in the jazz band.
Wait, what does that mean?
What's that? Say that again.
You said you were A-list or something?
No, undeclared.
Oh,
no major. I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh, yes,
I
of course.
see what you're saying.
there we
Undeclared.
go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was a music minor is what I had registered at, and I was
Okay.
like, well, I don't know.
That's what I did. I took a bunch of prerequisites because I knew I'd have to take them eventually.
Yeah,
I
same
never
here.
did anything like a major. I did the same thing. But
Yeah.
you, yeah. But what? I mean, what was your main experience? What was your biggest takeaway from Kent State?
I don't know. Hey, that's a good question. I definitely learned a lot. I've learned a lot more since I left, but it definitely was, if I had to break down the single point of learning that has defined me, I remember it very well. I studied with a guy named Greg Banaszak, who actually I've gotten to be really good friends with now as an adult. He's a Grammy-nominated saxophonist himself. He's actually quite good, and he's a good dude. So I took lessons with him at Kent. He was a saxophone professor at the time. He's not there anymore. So he had this moment where, you know, my ears were pretty good as like a freshman, but like I couldn't read music very well, and I was doing everything wrong. It's like, I don't know if you guys ever played baseball, but you know, I was dropping my shoulder, and I was reaching for the pitch. I was doing all kinds of things with the embouchure on the saxophone that I should not have been doing, and my fingers were flailing all over the place, and like, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. And he's like, look, here's what I want you to do. And I remember he's like, I want you to have the saxophone on in front of you, and put it in your mouth, and play middle C, just clear tone, just play middle C. Don't tongue anything, just put all your air into it and play middle C, and close your eyes. And so he did that, or I did that. And then he comes around behind me, like, you know, and puts his arms like on the saxophone like this. And he starts playing notes, and he starts playing like bebop, and it sounds great. And he could play everything from the lowest note all the way to the highest stuff. And there was no change. And so the point of the lesson was that, and what I learned from this, and it's literally defined my tonal approach on the instrument since that day, is that you don't move this around. You don't move. You're still. You use all of the strength that you have here to keep, you know, this solid, and you move your fingers more or less. And that's what all the great saxophone players do. And that was the defining moment in my Kent State education, if I'm being honest. And of course, there's lots of little nuanced things I learned, lots of other stuff that I learned, how to play certain things. But that was certainly the thing that changed like almost everything for me at that point. So, so I do remember that extremely well. What else I learned, I don't know. I'm sure there's a few things.
You know, I have a similar. I did a lot of singing,
Yeah,
and I went to college and I took voice lessons, and I remember almost none of it except that I could project and the others could not. But they taught me how to breathe, and I remember to this day the kind of satisfaction that I wasn't so tired and stuff because they taught me how to breathe. But it was just that one little thing that made it all just worth it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have little epiphany moments. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was just all coming back to me as you
Mm.
did that story. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what's the near future going to hold for you? What do you got planned?
Oh boy. Yeah, the next few weeks are actually really busy.
Nice.
And I don't know, next year is probably gonna be really busy too. But so we're doing the album release party in a couple of weeks for the live album. It's a place in Akron called Jilly's Music Room. Real cool place in downtown Akron. I have some other local things. I'm playing Miami Beach in January
Nice.
at the Fontainebleau Hotel. Some kind of big gala event that the organization wanted us to play. So we might even be wearing tuxes. I'm not sure. We're still working out the logistics, but that should be a lot of fun. A number of big theater performances early next year with the Foreigner Band. I have some of that stuff coming up. Yeah, and I just booked another Bop Stop date. Bop Stop's the big jazz club in downtown Cleveland. I just booked another date there in April. We're supposed to be on Fox 8 News in Cleveland at some point in April. That's it for now, but I have the feeling that next year is going to be really busy. I'm certainly getting a lot of things coming in, so I don't
Well,
know.
if your shows are anything like your videos here, I can tell you guys.
Oh yeah.
Go see it because the videos are all kind of different and they're all really fun and unique in their own
Yeah,
way.
Thank you.
And I just love you guys' style.
And you put them out the right way. Don't you put them out in like you schedule them in advance too, right?
Yeah, I do. That's both YouTube and Facebook too, if you want to use it like that. But you can set premieres. Really, YouTube.
Oh yeah, we've been starting to do that. It's
yeah, we're starting to tinker with that stuff. Yeah.
It's the idea that I was thinking is that it gives, I don't know, it makes people realize, at least in my mind anyways, no one's ever told me this, but I seem to think that if you have a video and you're watching it, like I kind of like this, and you go to their channel and they look at it and you see like 5 more videos they're going to premiere over the next few weeks, you're like, oh, I want to watch those. I do want to subscribe to this. You know, like, that was my thinking. I don't know if
oh no, you're right on point.
That's exactly what happened to me today, Matthew.
Oh, good. Excellent.
I got to the 5th video and ran out of time. We had to do the podcast.
Beautiful. Well, that was my idea. And like, and so I try to work around that, and I try to have stuff ready in advance, and I try to make calendar dates for when I'm gonna promote certain releases and stuff. And sometimes I use a publicist. You know, I can't do it all the time. Again, budget. It'd be great if I could, but you know, I can't. But that can help. But so you know, and the other thing I do want to, I have singles coming out. We have a single series, a Cleveland Time Records Cleveland single series. This. Let's see, My Funny Valentine's the first one, and then we're going to do a few more standard type tunes, one a month for about 5 months. And then I have another live album that I'm going to release from a couple of years ago that I kind of like. It's different players, but I kind of like it. I gave it another listen about a month ago, and it's mixed and everything. And I was like, you know what, this is kind of good. I think I'll release that. So I'm going to release that, and then the next studio album we're going to break ground this year. So I'm still writing the tunes, but it should be fun. I'm planning like an 80s throwback thing. I think could be kind of cool.
Oh, you're talking our language now. We got a lot of fans.
We got a lot of 80s fans on.
Actually, we got a lot of fans, so we're going to share everything you give us. So give us whatever you can, and
I'd be happy to.
Take it from me, everybody. It's really a lot of fun, and
it really is. And you bring to light, you know, the saxophone and jazz, because like, outside of people like Dave Koz, or you know, that song Lily Was Here with Candy Dulfer and Dave Stewart, or Kenny G, you know, I wasn't I wasn't really like, you know, big into saxophone. Like, it wasn't brought to me though either. So
yeah, right on. Yeah, there's
I got this thing where you're like really a super hard worker.
Yes.
You know, and now that I'm talking to you and I can listen to your schedule is out of control and stuff, you know, and the things you have going, but it just comes through in your music too. It's very rich. It's got a lot going on.
Thank
You're playing. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's what I go for. And it's it's caused my wife to want to kill me a few times. Just so you guys. This is
bless her heart for enduring.
So that's what she tells me, but maybe she's right.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it'll bring you all together in the end, just that much
Hopefully.
more, I'm sure.
sure.
Absolutely, it
Yeah.
will. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure she's very, very proud of you.
100%.
Absolutely, you're amazing. So I had a good Mark. You got any more questions?
No, this is such a
I really
thrill.
had a great time getting to know you and your music and stuff. And what would you
yeah.
like to leave? How would you like to cap this off for our viewers? Share whatever you want and just say whatever you want to our people.
Oh boy, I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think everything you said does kind of sum up. I mean, I'm happy you guys saw all that just from the stuff that's out there on YouTube. But you're
It's
right.
great.
You get the
I
nail
love
right
your
on the head.
content.
So everybody get down there, get into the links below, support Matthew.
Yeah.
This is where music is going, I think. And this guy is making me like jazz where I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
Same
so I'm
here.
going to give it a
Yes.
good listen and support Matthew. And I appreciate everybody give it a listen, and I'm sure you're going to love it. I'm sure you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And
Thank
it was great having you, Matthew. And when something happens, can you please come back and let us know and do a half hour?
Absolutely.
We would
I mean,
love to.
I ran you a little long. I'm pushing an hour. I'm sorry. I get to
Oh,
talking
no,
to
you're fine.
musicians
No,
and I
we're
just
good.
I go off, that's how I am. I just have so much fun talking to you, but thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Love
it's
having
fun.
you here, and come back when
anytime.
when you're going to promote anything else.
Yeah,
All right.
sounds great. Thanks so
Thanks
much
a
for
lot.
having me. It was
Yeah.
really nice